Good afternoon and welcome to the Northwest Regional College. I'm John Paul Grimes and I'm delighted to be joined today by the Chair and a committee member from the Department of Employment and Learning, Robin Swan UUP, and the SDLP's Pat Ramsey. Thank you both for giving us your time.
Thank you.
Can I begin by asking about budget cuts? Robin Swan, we are being told that we can expect to see 15% sliced off the budgets of further education. How can colleges like this one be expected to deliver quality education when they're being tightened in this way?
I think that's one of the remits, and actually something that the committee has raised and something our party has raised. I think the employment and learning is actually looking at 10.8% cut to the budget at this minute in time, something that neither the Ulster Unionist Party or the SDLP actually supported in that budget. I think one of the challenges that we see and one of the discrepancies that we see, and actually in this budget that is being presented, DETI actually received an uplift. Now it doesn't make sense to us, nor should it make sense to anybody in higher or further education, how you can promote a department that's responsible for bringing in jobs without the supporting the department that's responsible for creating the skills and the talent that are actually bringing in those foreign direct employers. So unless you get that balance right, I'm somewhat heartened by the fact the Finance Minister actually said that any consequentials coming out of Barnett, that DEL would actually be one of the targets or one of the departments that should receive an uplift. But the challenging times are going to be there for all colleges, and it's up to us as MLAs, and especially in the Committee for Employment and Learning, to make sure that higher and further education is supported as much as we can.
Thank you. Pat Ramsey, how much frustration do you feel as a representative from the west of the Bann when you have to explain to constituents why there is no expansion of McGee, why the cancer treatment unit at Altnagalvin Hospital was hanging in the balance, and now why the upgrade of the railway link to Belfast looks like it won't happen anytime soon?
It's always done with great difficulty, I must say, as a politician. I get as angered and frustrated as the next. You know, and all the time we had a meeting of a Unity and Purpose group here in the city on Friday, where we were talking to the Deputy First Minister on those issues, and I was certainly challenging him on the issues, because what we do have, and it's reflective of the budget cuts as well, that we have the highest levels of unemployment, unfortunately, in these islands and possibly in Europe. We have the most highly levels of economic inactivity in these islands. The only way we can move forward by targeting resources to these areas, and it pains me to hear of the level of jobs, the quantity of jobs and the quality of jobs that continuously goes west of the Bann. And when you're trying to articulate it best you can within the confines as a local politician in Stormont, it was great difficulty, because at times there is this syndrome Belfast that's there, that people would claim Ramsey has two chips on his shoulder, maybe, because he's talking about the need in Derry. And it's not just about the railway, it's about the A5, it's about the A6, it's about jobs, it's about the economy, but it's having in place effective mechanism to ensure that we're targeting social need. And the high spots are in this city and region. And Derry and Strabane, unfortunately, share one of the most awful sets of high levels of unemployment that have been traditional decades now. And certainly my challenge to the Deputy First Minister and to the Executive, and to my own Minister, I say as well, we have to get circumstances where there's regional balance, ensuring that our young people in the city, the young people who are coming to this college, have greater opportunities of employment. Sadly, we're not getting it at the moment. But out of that, you know, and all that negativity, we have to be positive. I'm leading a delegation which the Chief Executive of this college, Derry City Council and the Galvin Trust, to two ministers in a few weeks' time, looking at economic development in the city, looking at economic inactivity. Out of a negative, we have to create a positive, and we're trying to move forward to try and make a difference in very difficult circumstances in Derry. And we can only do that when there's a unity of purpose, and I think we have that unity of purpose in the city.
Okay. This is to both of you. To what extent have your parties, like your own, been marginalised as Sinn Féin and the DUP seem to be making the decisions?
Well, we are in circumstances whereby executive decisions are taken by either the DUP or Sinn Féin, which can veto one another out. And in fact, Robin would share with me, some of our ministers get papers and minutes, literally minutes before an executive meeting, which isn't acceptable in the present circumstances. And they're very easily marginalised, because it only requires one or the other. You know, you were asking Robin a question before. We were sitting here possibly in May and June in Stormont, and there was a level of uncertainty over the stability of governance of the Northern Ireland Assembly. And it was about flags. It was about the past. it was about parades and Mumminers Gate. They're not getting there. There's something badly wrong. And then one can imagine those might be the easier of the solutions now, trying to create an environment where you're bringing forward more stability and peaceful terms of the governments we have. And I think we all aim to achieve that, rather than go back to the awfulness of the past we had. But we're still in circumstances whereby there is a crisis at present, budgetary nature. There is a crisis in terms of welfare reforms that we have to reconcile. And we have to reconcile going forward that we're doing it together and we're not sidelined. I do accept we're sidelined. I do accept we're marginalised. And, you know, we as best we can try to work with all parties, you know, and generally speaking, the work in Stormont and even at committee levels is quite consensual.
Yeah.
A lot of issues we're here in the college for today to talk about needs and how we can work with young people who are marginalised and not in education, training and employment. We're talking about, to the college, about a present inquiry we're taking on in relation to post-19 transition period for people who have learning disabilities. So we're very focused. You might hear all the negatives about what's not happening in Stormont, but there's a lot of damn work, good work on trying to make a difference on the quality of people's lives in Northern Ireland as well.
I think that's one of the points we come from the two parties that we represent, and we look to that. I suppose Northern Ireland looks to the two larger parties for leadership, but at the back of it, before it comes to the executive, there's a certain amount of dealership that goes on between those two parties, and they're maybe not representing the consensual politics that was actually designed under the Belfast Agreement, and something I think that Pat has indicated that goes on behind the scenes. Should it be through committees? Should it be through the change in the education bill that happened yesterday? You know, where DUP, Sinn Féin, DUP, SDLP, Ulster Unionist Party and Alliance came together with a joint amendment to a Sinn Féin education bill. And it's that sort of work. It's not the headline grabbing media stuff that the media want to see. You know, that confrontational politics will be easy found in Northern Ireland, but there's very few of our media outlets, and I'm not blaming the media, but there's very few of our media outlets actually get access or the interest into the day-to-day work that goes on in the Assembly that's actually delivering for a lot of the people in Northern Ireland.
Thank you. The electorate here has witnessed the Stormont Assembly struggle to agree on crucial matters relating to budget and welfare reform. Wouldn't it be better to give up this experiment and go back to direct rule?
Under no circumstance. And I'm saying that, and this, I can assure you this isn't out of self-interest. The concept of direct rule that people understand or people seem to promote that was pre-98 will not deliver for Northern Ireland. You referred earlier on to budget cuts and to welfare reform. If Northern Ireland was currently under a period of direct rule, would have had those 2 years ago. We would have no influence. The people of Northern Ireland would have no say into how that was being adopted or where it was being adopted. One of the biggest things we're at the minute is a cut to the health budget and how that's been rolled out across Northern Ireland. Direct rule ministers would have closed those hospitals this time last year because there's absolutely no consequence to them, either politically or in some cases even morally, how that would be handled by them. I think one of the most worrying statements that has come recently, and it came from the Secretary of State, and it was referring, she didn't refer to direct rule, she actually said the decisions would be handed back to the civil service. Now, and that takes all decision function out of any elected representative. Should there be a direct rule minister from London or a direct rule minister from Dublin, because nobody knows what a new direct rule might look like.
Do you know, it's an interesting question, and certainly we're here in the city of Derry that has seen a high increase in the level of dissident activity. Within the last few days, we've had serious attempts at murdering of police officers in the Creggan estate. One can only imagine in circumstances where it would be feeding the friends that they would have, it would motivate them. Well, Stormont's not working, we're going to take on the campaign again to unite this country. That's not what we want. We want to ensure that we have a stabilisation of government across Northern Ireland, even in difficult circumstances where we may get that frustration and that sense of anger that's certainly felt in the Northwest. There's better things going to happen to the Northwest, there's better things going to happen in Derry as a result. We certainly will not get it under direct rule, but certainly under no circumstances can we allow any opportunity to feed the organisations across Northern Ireland are wholly intent on murder, destruction and mayhem, and that's what feed on them.
Thank you. Well, just on the notion of better things to happen for the Northwest, Robin Swan, your stated commitment is to improve the lives of the working class communities here in the area with the worst unemployment in the UK. What can you say as chair of the Employment and Learning Committee to address that?
John, I think that's actually one of the questions I just asked the principal and the chair of the governors of this college before I come into the studio today. And it's the vision of people like that who can directly influence what happens in the city of Londonderry. You know, and Pat referred to earlier on, you know, I think it was, you know, about the bounce but nothing coming outside Belfast. There's no reason Invest NI shouldn't be promoting Londonderry the same way as they do Belfast. There's airport access, there's a harbour export. You know, there's a harbour access there as well that can lead to exports for manufacturing as well. There's a number of high-grade employers already in the city. How we challenge the high levels of unemployment in Londonderry is to make sure the skills base is there. The skills base is being promoted by our executive, by Invest NI throughout the world to show that there's a skills pool here, there's an available skills pool here, but it's more importantly, it's crucial for the college to make sure those skills are in place to match the demand of the jobs that are coming.
Thank you. Well, staying on that note, in this sense, Pat Ramsey, how best can you think that North West Regional College here can help to facilitate and promote the small businesses in the North West area?
North West College is a primary role. You know, we have a student base of almost 20,000 young students here. We have to continuously improve, and I think the college would be up for that. To do things better, to do things in a more smarter way. We have to be working with the key industry players in the city. We have to be working with the Chamber of Commerce. There's economic development plans coming from Derry City Council. And I said earlier on, there's a negativity around budget cuts. There's opportunities that the college, and we've had the discussions with the college on this, and I know the principal will be joining me in a meeting with two ministers, not one minister, with two ministers looking at an economic connectivity strategy specifically bespoke for the North West that can make a difference in people's lives. So certainly, yes, I think the college is making the mark, particularly in the STEM areas, which are the subject matters that industry we have in the city. We have a limited base in the city in terms of manufacturing, for example. We have Seagate. The other industries coming into the city are more IT related, and we have to be ensuring, as the chair of the committee has said, Robin, there is a skills deficit in terms of IT, in terms of computer software jobs that don't always require third level education. So we have to be meeting the trends out there, but also up to the mark, and the challenges for the college as well, to be meeting those challenges ahead and looking outside the box in the creative industries. The college does well in the creative industries, and I certainly would be hoping at some stage that we could take that level of development and best practice and showcase it in Stormont, where we have other colleges doing that as well. So we have to be positive, and the college, I think, is up to the mark, meeting the needs of business in this city.
Thank you. Well, gentlemen, I would like to now hand you over to the audience and see if anyone has a question.
Thanks both for coming today, by the way. But in August, Dáil Minister Stephen Farry said that further development for Magee was off the table and delayed for the foreseeable future due to budget cuts. Given that Derry's lack of inward investment has been particularly noted throughout history, do the members feel it is likely that Magee and Dáil will meet the targets of additional places as set out in the One Plan?
Well, certainly Stephen was very, I think it was more of a challenge, a political challenge. We went on the Stephen Nolan show over the holidays by saying we're living cuckoo or fairyland as it comes to it. I think again we have to be positive. You know, the executive has to make the decision. It's not down to Stephen Farry. Stephen Farry doesn't have it within his budget to deliver Magee. To deliver Magee on the almost 10,000 full-time students, we need a decision by the executive to determine that, to ensure, because we have been articulate the argument now that Magee, the development of Magee is not about a Derry City issue. It's about the development of university places for Northern Ireland PLC. So that's the debate we're on now. So to do that, we want to ensure that there's a regional balance when it comes to full-time students, because it was clear in the One Plan, the main economic driver for the regeneration of the city is for the expansion of Magee. We've all signed off to it. The college here, Magee. At times when, you know, when the University for Derry campaign was calling for an independence, and understandably so an independence in terms of the University for Derry campaign, as was in their title, U4D, I think we have to be still ensuring that to meet the targets coming out up to 2016, and that is increased numbers and lifting of the Mazen cap from Magee. But I think the challenge has to be And it's not for Stephen Farry, and it's not for Danny Kennedy, and it's not for young Mark Durkan, who's the minister. It's for the first and deputy first ministers of Northern Ireland to come up to the mark. They came to the city, announced the one plan in Great Palm, in regard to Ebrington when they came to announce that there. They need to be challenged to ensure that if it was signed off on the one plan, then let's put a timetable on it. Let's put a time frame on it by bringing forward and ensuring that it's on the programme for government and money is set aside for it.
Can I ask, the cuts to DEL have been imposed to try to save money, but wouldn't you agree that the loss of high quality students due to cuts in university places will weaken the workforce in Northern Ireland and ultimately cost the economy more money in the long run?
Agree with you wholeheartedly there, and it's something I've raised actually as chair of the committee and also through my own political party. One of the reasons those foreign direct investment companies are coming to Northern Ireland, and they state it continually, is because of the high number and the high quality of the students that we have to meet their demands. The law firms from America can come in here and pick up 180 law graduates, which they can't do in any other UK city. The foreign direct investment that's actually coming into Northern Ireland is actually the same skill set, the same basis as the foreign direct investment that's coming into London. And the only reason they're picking Northern Ireland over London is because we have the student capacity. And that's what I said earlier on, and you know, some of my opening. It doesn't make sense to me to cut the DEL budget but increase the DETI budget, because the two should be coming together as one package, because you can't have that foreign direct investment if you're not investing in the core product, which is their students.
It's an interesting point, because up until now, and we went to the beginning of this mandate, which is 3 years ago, the initial budget, the comprehensive spending review round, was reducing the higher education budget. And we do know the figures are, for every pound invested in higher education, it creates a further £3 under the economy of that city where the university it is. And it's not, even setting aside that, you know, the recent information, Robin, we got from the universities was, for example, that the student population in either England, Scotland, Wales, around 1,000 to 2,000, 2,500 additional money goes into the students there from central government or from the devolved governments of Scotland and Wales compared to here. So already at a deficit. And I think what you do need is circumstances whereby when you're creating the dynamism around inward investment, you need the top quality third level students, the courses, whether it's STEM related, whether it's legal, whether it's professional, whether it's medical, we need them to be sustained. And we can't do it in no circumstance. I think that there is a groundswell of opinion now, including from the colleges, I have to say as well. You have the higher education on one hand, and then you have the further education. And the further education, and I said it to some of the senior managers here, we can't have circumstances in Northern Ireland where you're protecting and ring fencing money for young people who are at grammar schools, but not protecting young people who are in need, who have learning disabilities, who have been educated at a college. And I think, you know, Rob and myself would share that same concept. We're going into a period now of consultation. It's about everybody meaningfully making a submission to that so it can be heard. And in the last round on the comprehensive spending review, it was because people in high numbers made a contribution to it for Sammy Wilson to change and the executive to change their perspective of where they're going from. And we need that same impetus now as well.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much to my guests today, Robin Swan and Pat Ramsey, and to you, the audience. I'm John Paul Grimes. Good afternoon.